From a wild survival tale in the outback to fame in the big city. From rejection and tragedy to the highest grossing Australian movie ever. These are the shocking behind-the-scenes secrets Hollywood never told you. By the end of this video, you'll never see Mick Dundee the same way again. 1. Long before Paul Hogan became the face of Mick Dundee, there was Rod Ansell, a real Australian bushman whose life already sounded like a movie. In 1977, Ansell set off for a trip along the Fitzmaurice River in the Northern Territory of Australia. During this trip, his boat capsized from an attack by a crocodile, scattering his supplies and leaving him stranded in one of the most unforgiving places on Earth. For 7 weeks, he fought to stay alive, sleeping in trees to avoid predators, drinking cattle blood for water, and hunting wild animals with makeshift spears. When rescuers finally found him, he was barefoot, tanned, and smiling. So it's no surprise that Australia fell in love with him instantly. He told this story on television, laughing about sleeping on hotel floors because beds now felt too soft. That wild charm caught the eye of a comedian, Paul Hogan. He later admitted that Ansell was partly the inspiration for Mick Dundee. But unlike in the movie, Ansell's story ended in tragedy. In 1999, he was killed in a violent shootout with the police. While that was the shocking end of the original Crocodile Dundee, the actor's start was also interesting. 2. Before Paul Hogan became the face of Mick Dundee, he was just another worker on Sydney's Harbour Bridge. Long before fame, Hogan spent years as a high-rise rigger, hanging above the skyline every day. People often believed that he'd been a painter, but he corrected them with a smile. If I'd been a painter, turning up every day to say, "What color are we doing today, boys?" I'd have jumped off. That working-class toughness and dry humor became the DNA of Mick Dundee. Hogan didn't need to act like a rugged man, since he always was one, and that's what made the character real. But did you know that the character of Crocodile Dundee was almost lost forever? 3. Before Crocodile Dundee ever became a hit, Paul Hogan was just a TV comedian with a wild idea no one wanted to hear. He walked into studios with a dream about an Aussie bushman, and they laughed him out the door. But Hogan wasn't the type to quit. If Hollywood wouldn't back him, he'd do it himself. He co-wrote the script, teamed up with an Australian producer, and they both raised funds through private investors to make it happen. Meaning, no studio backing, no safety net, just a dream and confidence to move forward. And his gamble paid off. The man they said couldn't make a movie ended up creating the highest grossing Australian film of all time. A film so big, it rewrote what the world thought Australia could be. Hogan didn't chase Hollywood. He made Hollywood chase him, and it all happened with one line that will be immortalized forever. 4.
That's not a knife.
It's one of the most famous movie lines ever written, but at first, nobody thought it was funny. According to co-writer Ken Shaddy, the line didn't work on paper. It looked flat and too simple. But once Paul Hogan said it on set, everyone knew they had struck gold. The secret was Hogan's delivery. He said it with that effortless Aussie confidence, and it turned that single line into the heartbeat of the movie. So who knows, maybe without a memorable line like that one, the movie would have flopped. But that's Hollywood, baby. Details matter. 5. That fearless attitude didn't stop with Hogan. It ran through the entire production. When filming began in Kakadu National Park, there were no fancy hotels or air-conditioned trailers. The cast and crew lived right in the outback. They built rough shelters, slept through blistering heat, and dealt with different kinds of insects. Nights were filled with the sounds of frogs, insects, snakes, and sometimes the splash of a real crocodile sliding into the river. The crew joked, sweated, and worked side by side, and that genuine sense of toughness showed on screen. Speaking of real crocodiles, 6. Not everything was as real as it looked. The famous scene where Sue is attacked by a giant crocodile and Mick dives in to save her looked terrifying, but it was pure Hollywood magic. The crocodile wasn't real. It was a mechanical beast built at a cost of about $45,000. Paul Hogan originally wanted to use a real crocodile for close-ups, but the production team knew that was suicide. There was no way to control a crocodile safely for the film. So they built one. A fully functional animatronic crocodile with hydraulic jaws that snapped and thrashed just like the real thing. With clever editing and real footage blended in, fans everywhere believed Hogan had actually wrestled a crocodile, and that illusion helped make Dundee a legend. If you're loving this dive into the secrets behind Crocodile Dundee, like this video, hit the subscribe button, and turn on notifications for more classics. Now to the next fact. 7. When Paul Hogan was asked which animal was the hardest to work with, he didn't even pause before saying, buffalo. There's that classic scene where Mick Dundee raises his hand and calms a massive water buffalo in the middle of the road. It's quiet, simple, and unforgettable. But getting that one moment on camera was pure chaos. The buffalo, weighing nearly 2,000 pounds, simply refused to cooperate. The crew tried waiting, coaxing, even standing in complete silence, but the animal wouldn't move an inch. Filming that single shot took an entire day. But eventually, the patience paid off. The buffalo finally lifted its head at just the right time, and the camera caught perfection. But you should also know that the water buffalo can also be really dangerous, so that scene could have gone terribly wrong. 8. When Crocodile Dundee was ready for international release, the producers ran into an unexpected problem. Hardly anyone outside Australia could understand what the characters were saying. Test audiences in America loved the movie's humor, but Aussie slang threw them off. Words like bloke, Sheila, and walkabout left many scratching their heads. So Paramount Pictures made adjustments. The US version was shorter by about 7 minutes, mostly trimming early Australian scenes. Some lines were redubbed into clearer English, and the pacing was slightly sped up. Even though the title was changed, the US release added quotation marks around Crocodile Dundee to make it sound like a nickname, not a horror film about a giant reptile. Those small edits made a huge difference. They helped Crocodile Dundee connect with audiences everywhere, transforming a low-budget Aussie comedy into a global phenomenon. Another phenomenal thing was the chemistry of the staff, since some staff members even found love on the set. 9. It wasn't just the world falling for Mick Dundee. Love was blooming right behind the camera, too. Paul Hogan and Linda Kozlowski's chemistry was so natural that fans assumed it was real. And yes, it actually was. Hogan, then married with 5 children, had connected with Kozlowski, a young actress from New York, during casting. From the moment they started filming together, the spark was undeniable. Everyone on set noticed. After the movie's release, Hogan divorced his wife Nolene, and in 1990 he married Kozlowski. The love story of Crocodile Dundee became real. The two settled into a quiet life in Los Angeles and later returned to Australia. That genuine connection gave the film something that couldn't be written. In the end, Crocodile Dundee wasn't just a movie, but a symbol of perseverance, heart, and Aussie spirit. It proved you didn't need fame or money to make something unforgettable. Just a bit of wildness. So here's the question. Do you think a movie like Crocodile Dundee would ever have been successful if it were made today?